My mom always tells me, like, you never know who you can meet on the internet.
I like these, TBH. I like these.
These ones? This is the ones I pointed out earlier. They're like chains.
One of my roommates met her boyfriend on a dating app. Could not tell you which one.
If you had to describe the dating scene of today's world, specifically Tallahassee, in one word, what would it be?
Messy.
Someone said kick me in the face. I'm like, huh? What?
I am a pretty frequent, like, deleter. You know, I delete them and re-download them, delete them, re-download them. Thinking that I'll find something that I didn't find last time, which is almost never the case.
I've gotten, like, stomp on me and, like, kick me or, like, spit on me before. I'm like...
I feel like the target audience for them is more like people looking for casual relationships.
Someone said, hey, you trying to breastfeed me respectfully?
Everybody says you aren't going to find a long-term relationship on a dating app.
The way to win me over is for you to bend over.
So I was on Hinge, and I decided to put that I would date both guys and girls, even though the guys in Tallahassee are, like, a little weird and scary. But I decided to be brave, and almost immediately after I did that, this guy found my profile and liked it. We started messaging on Hinge, and then we moved to text. And he was really nice, and we had a lot of similar interests. So he was texting me, and he invited me on a date, and I was interested because I wanted to get to know him outside of just text. I was really, really nervous because I'd never been on a date with a guy before, and I just didn't know, like, what to wear or what they would be interested in. So I made my roommates help me. We went through a lot of options. It took forever. Like, I had no idea what to wear. I was just, like, panicking and panicking.
We need to talk about that again. Yes.
I ended up wearing this leather jacket that my mom gave me from the 80s. And this really cute dress to go with it. And I just felt like I looked really cool and I was really confident going into the date. So we went to 1851 for our date, and I made my friends come with me because I was nervous because I'd never met him before. And then he finally showed up, and he didn't look anything like his pictures. And he was like, I'm so sorry, I was in class, I was late. And I was like, oh, what class were you in? And he didn't really give me an answer, and he wasn't really engaging. And I was like, oh, what were you doing? And he was like, nothing, it was boring. He didn't seem to really, like, want to engage or answer any of my questions. So I was, like, trying to get to know him better, and I was like, okay, what are your interests like? And he was like, I'm really into Fortnite. And I was like, okay. And he was like, you should play Fortnite with me. And I was like, I don't really play Fortnite. And he was like, you have to play Fortnite. You just don't understand how fun it is. And he started going off about Fortnite and just, like, telling me all about it, which was, like, great that he was interested, but he, like, was not asking me anything about myself or, like, trying to get to know me at all. And then all of a sudden he just, like, stood up and was like, I have to go. And he, like, walked out, and I had to follow him. And he was like, come back to my dorm with me. And I was like, no. And he seemed upset about it, but he, like, went in for a hug, and I was like, okay, sure. And the hug was, like, so awkward. And then he just, like, ran away. He didn't walk. He, like, ran away. And I was like, okay, bye.
Like, ghosting people and not being upfront about, like, hey, I don't think, you know, this is gonna work between us, or, like, I don't really want to, you know. So I think that's more of the problem than anything else. It's okay to, like, have standards to a certain extent, but, like, treating people like that is not.
We always depended on each other.
And I guess that's what really surprises me sometimes, seeing relationships today, is how much anger and lack of respect people have for each other. They talk to them in this awful way. And that just really bothers me. I don't think Glenn and I have ever spoken to each other
Not
in
like
that way.
that, no.
Ever in 48 years. You know,
A lot of relationships are throwaway.
Yeah.
Everything just feels so, like, disposable. Like, if you don't work out with one person, you could just go on a dating app and find somebody else to, you know, hook up with that same night, probably. I feel like with older generations, it was more of, like, a convenience factor. I don't know, a lot of people, like, met in high school, or, like, whenever they were really young and then got married because they hit it off, and then they find out, you know, like, years later, they're actually not compatible at all.
Was there any like moment when you knew that like she was the one, or vice versa?
When she told me she was pregnant with my son.
Yep.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Because living together was, in the 70s, that was when it all started and everything. So, yeah.
And I think in older generations, they tend to emphasize like traditional roles. There were things that the guy did and there were things that the girl did in a relationship. And while I do think that that still exists, like I often find myself thinking like, oh, well, I'm the girl in the relationship, like I shouldn't have to do like guy roles per se. But I think that that's starting to fade out.
I had to get married. I had to find a husband. Period. That was it.
Like coming from your divorce, there was a lot of pressure.
Before that, to find a man and get married. So, yeah. That was number one.
I was all right being a bachelor.
It's not even that those marriages were like forced. I would just say rushed and like perpetuated by like, just how society is. And that's not necessarily the case now, which is why maybe not a lot of people want long-term relationships because they don't feel the need to have them.
A lot of the times people just aren't straight up about what they want, or they say one thing and then they do another thing.
Everybody has misconstrued intentions on there, so it's hard to kind of tell who's being real and who's being not real. So, and then it's like so hard to like meet people in person who are also genuine. So it's not fun most of the time.
In person now, I feel like people struggle more with making connections, or even just being at a bar, trying to shoot a shot with someone. Like it's been harder, and I feel like for me, I've gotten more actual connections from dating apps than I have in person.
Either they're not bold or I'm not bold enough to, sort of create a connection. It can be a lot easier on dating apps because you're kind of filtered by that screen in front of both of you. So in person, it's a little bit different.
This is our wedding picture, and this is the group of best men and women and everything. This is the leather marriage certificate that Jesse Waddell did for us, and a picture of his mules. He played the accordion for music as well, and brought his pack mule and his horse. What else would you like to talk about? In 1972, I was living in Cairo, Georgia, and I divorced my first husband and was working at TGNY. Being divorced was not something everybody approved of, and several people made it their business to tell my father everything that I was doing wrong. So I came home one day at lunch and asked my mother if there was any relatives anywhere in the United States that I could go visit because I couldn't do this anymore. So 2 weeks later, I transferred from TGNY in Cairo to TGNY in Boulder, moved out with my clothes and my cat, and to my aunt's house. And a couple days later, my aunt kept saying, I have this guy that I really need you to meet. I think you'd like him a lot. And so we were getting ready to go to the Denver Zoo that day, and I heard this god-awful noise coming up the street. And it was a small Triumph Spitfire.
No, GT6
GT6.
Plus.
And Aunt Rita said, "Oh, there's Glenn. That's what I've been telling you about." And he has waist-length hair with a leather headband, round John Lennon glasses, flannel shirt and jeans. And I thought, okay. The next night, I get a phone call from Glenn, asked me to go out. So I got ready. He'd cut all of his hair off, dressed up, and like, wow, you sure you're the same one? The only way I knew it was him was because of his car. So that's how we met.
I got a date. We're going out. So we decided to go out. I don't remember where I took you.
To Loggy and Boulder.
Oh, the college bars. And so we went to the Sink, to Loggy, and walked up and down what they called the hill up there. That's where all college kids would hang out. He had a nice smile, cute.
We had a great time, and then it was snowing. He showed me how to do donuts in the parking lot in the snow.
Yeah, leave it to me to show a girl a good time.
Yeah. Our first date was the most memorable of that. How did you ever top that? It's hard,
Not easy.
but it's worth it.
Was there any like significant moment in the relationship that you guys had to overcome together?
The death of our son. Brian was around the corner playing with friends on his bicycle, and he rode his bike out in the street without looking, and a car hit him. So that's definitely the hardest moment we've ever had. It put strain on it. At that time, a high percentage of marriages that had experienced the death of a child did not last. Divorce rate was very high. I think we pay attention more to each other now. It's very important for us. We have a bedtime ritual. We go to bed and we say, "I love you," and sleep well, something, and touch each other. You have to treat each other with respect to be treated with respect. Whenever we have tough times,
Can't stay angry.
yeah, you can't stay angry. You have to work through it.
And a lot of you learn to give that anger up, because most of the time it's not important.
Yeah.
Do you think love is dead?
Not necessarily. I think it might be dying, but I don't think it's dead. Chivalry might be dying.
I'm going to try in person more to, maybe meet someone at a bar, or maybe a friend of a friend. I want it to be more the natural way, and I feel like our generation's so focused on that. But, past generations, they've had a lot of success with meeting people in person, and I honestly feel like that's the way to do it.
But I also think it's a little bit harder to convey like who you are as a person online versus like in person. Someone can actually see you and like your tone and genuinely get to know you.
It's more fun too, making that in-person connection, and you really get to know more about the person and see what they're actually like, and you don't have to go through, getting your hopes up and then being let down, because it really sucks. But I am hopeful. I think maybe something will happen eventually, but at this point, I don't think it's going to be through a dating app. Love takes time.
Is love dead?
No, not by any stretch. And love will rule over hate every day of the week.